And ladies and gentlemen, the use of drone technology by both private and the public sector have raised significant privacy concerns for the Indians today. And today we have with us Mr. Ambar Dubey, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Civil Aviation, to highlight the drone policies. Mr. Dubey is an alumnus of IIT Bombay and IIM Ahmedabad and has a professional experience of over 30 years. He was one of the 9 professionals selected in the year 2019 by the Government of India to join as the Joint Secretaries on a lateral entry basis at Ministry of Civil Aviation. Shri Dubey is looking after drones, RGNAU, IGRUA, flying academies, air sports, IT and skill development, etc. Earlier, Mr. Dubey was India Head of Aerospace and Defense at the global consultancy KPMG. And ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Dubey for his address. Over to you, sir.
Namaskar, and thank you so much. Congratulations, Paduri Sahab and dignitaries on the dais, off the dais. Very good morning. How much time do I have? 10 minutes? Okay, we'll keep it short and I'll keep it a little interactive. Instead of coming here early morning and then just boring you with a long speech, it's better to keep it interactive. Maybe we can just circulate a few microphones. Just ask us 2-3 questions so that it becomes a little more interactive. Otherwise, I can give a long speech on government's great achievements. Can you just circulate? The first guy gets an extra ice cream during lunch. I know it's tough to be the first person. Just ask. It's free of cost, included in the package. Stunned silence. You want to get bored by a speech? I have a 30-slide presentation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dubey, for such a nice invitation.
Question, please.
Primarily, the question is, you are connected to the aviation, and certainly this summit focuses on the new technology to be adopted. So, whatever is being done in the construction, what all is in the bag for the rapid construction of the new facilities for the aviation infrastructure?
No, drones. You took such a long time but didn't ask the right question. I'm only talking about drones. Anybody else?
So, can I?
Yeah, please.
So I think...
You don't get an extra ice cream. You're the host.
Good morning.
No, so this
Take a second. First big man on the dais.
So there is, I understand that there is a drone being tested which has capacity to take a very heavy load, which may result in something like a drone taxi kind of an issue coming up.
Right.
Would that fall under aviation sector? How does it look in time to come?
Anything that flies, whether it's from India or it's enemy countries, anything which flies comes under aviation. So it will be under aviation. We'll talk about taxis. Next question, please. बैठ के पूछिए.
Good morning, Ambar Dubey ji. Welcome to Construction World.
अरे सवाल पूछिए सर, धप्प से बिल्कुल. Too many pleasantries.
आपने देवघर में एयरपोर्ट बना के अचानक बहुत सरप्राइज दिया पूरे झारखंड को.
जी.
अभी तक झारखंड में किसी मंत्रालय ने अभी तक ध्यान नहीं दिया था. और थैंक यू.
ड्रोन पे कुछ पूछिए. टाइम खत्म हो रहा है मेरा. 10 मिनट में 9 मिनट बचे हैं सिर्फ. चलिए नेक्स्ट प्लीज.
Hi. Dubey sir, just a question on drones. What is the new technology that the ministry is thinking about? How to prevent drone attacks?
Drone attacks.
And then interference in civil aviation and drone alerts to pilots or keep these areas free of drones.
Got it. Next question, please.
दुबे जी, मेरा नाम श्याम है और मैं कोई बहुत से यूट्यूबर्स हैं जो कंस्ट्रक्शन साइट पे अपना प्रेजेंटेशन देते हैं वाया ड्रोन्स. इन्वेस्ट भी करते हैं और ट्राई करते हैं कुछ नया देने, बट उनको अप्रूवल्स मिलने में थोड़ा दिक्कत आ रहा है. तो समझना चाहते हैं कि ईजी कैसे हो सकता है या अभी क्या प्रोसेस है.
ये पूछा आपने पैसा वसूल करने वाला सवाल. क्या नाम है आपका?
श्याम तिवारी, सब इंफ्रा प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजमेंट. श्याम तिवारी.
2 आइसक्रीम मिलेंगे आपको.
थैंक यू.
चलिए, 2 more questions.
Good morning, sir. My question is basically, when can we see, all the e-commerce companies delivering stuff? And secondly, see, I'm from a marketing background. So, after project completion, it's very difficult to get drone shots done. So, is it a...
No, I didn't get you. Just repeat your second question.
Second question is, see, basically, once the project is completed, we would... Almost everybody gets the drones to get the videos and photos.
Right.
But that's a challenge nowadays. So, how can we overcome that challenge?
Challenge in what sense? Just
in the sense it's not allowed, basically. I mean, sometimes...
Who told you that? Okay, good question. I think it's linked to what Mr. Tiwari asked. Last question, please.
सरकार की तरफ से प्राइवेट कंस्ट्रक्शन
पहले तो हाथ हिला दीजिए, कहाँ पर हैं आप?
दिस साइड योर लेफ्ट
हाँ जी, बताइए.
सरकार की
I
तरफ
love
से
your tie, love your tie. मेरा वाला
sir.
पिंक. हाँ.
सरकार की तरफ से स्मॉल स्केल कंस्ट्रक्शन कंपनीज को ड्रोन प्रोवाइड करने की कोई पॉलिसी आने वाली है क्या टू सपोर्ट कंस्ट्रक्शन
Why do we expect government to always be this Dani Karn giving out money? It's your money, okay? Let it be used for building some toilets and schools and village
construction
infrastructure.
happens mostly from tier 2 or tier 3 great contractors, so if they get support from government that will help the industry.
Okay, okay.
Thanks.
Last but not the least. Haan ji.
Amar, when will we start seeing drones becoming a way of life for the construction sector?
Way of life, okay. Absolutely last. I saw somebody raising his
One
hand
question. Here, yeah.
Jaldi.
So as per the new policies, the approvals on red and yellow zone is not very clear. I mean, we are struggling with that. If you can maybe throw some light on that.
Okay. Last, absolutely, this is the third time I'm saying this is the last question. Somebody raised his hand here. Well, now we are warming up. I told you, the first ice cream creates the first question. That takes the longest time. And now we are buzzing with questions. Yeah.
I have a question, sir.
I have only 10 minutes. Huh?
Yeah, I'll just take 10 seconds. In contradiction to the telephone tapping, what kind of privacy will be people in general have to have this secrecy or confidentiality?
Got it.
Will the government have a sort of, blanket over this control? That
Got it. Privacy we all understand. Nobody wants a drone flying over a girls' hostel or a swimming pool. Yes, sir.
Hello, I'm here. Standardization of the drones.
Okay. I'm getting all the right questions here.
Here,
I said last question, 5 questions back. Yes.
well, I guess you asked for it.
And I've come all the way just for this because I don't want to give you a speech and bore you to death.
I
Yes.
like the idea of taking questions rather than
Batai,
giving answers.
chaliye.
The question I think I have is there any thoughts on how to create an incentivizing ecosystem that helps all the stakeholders from either tech providers or people to adopt the technology? Because a lot of times the question comes up on the ROI. Of course, and you need to overcome the hurdle of the initial cost of adoption. So any thoughts on that?
Okay. So I'll start in a random order and start cutting out whatever I've answered. You asked about ROI and stakeholders. Either dekhiye dhande ki baat hai. If I'm a drone supplier, I have to come and convince you that using this, you can cut out this and cut out this cost and you can get real-time information. And if you're based in Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, Pune or whichever place or even say Dubai or Singapore, you can have a live telecast of what is happening in your site out there. Instead of depending on one Mr. Tiwari or one Mr. Gupta there on site who may tell you something and may not tell you everything, right? So if you see value, you'll get it. But this whole concept and that earlier question, oh, mera wala pink tie and all that, he also asked the same question. We don't need to incentivize. We need to, why should government give you money? Taxpayers' money. We would rather put it on girls' education or village infrastructure, which is where there's a crying need for cash. So we collect money as government and we put it into public welfare and social welfare. The infrastructure here sucks. We just heard Padode Saab how much of infrastructure development we need to do to just have a reasonably decent life. I mean, I also see some foreign guests sitting here. I mean, they're used to a different kind of life. They also come down to India and say, this sucks, that sucks. We have to change that. We want them to come and say, wow, this country has changed when they come here 5, 10, or 20 years later. Okay, so no money will be given for usage. The only place the government has given for usage is agriculture, where we are paying money on the PLI side, production-linked incentive to anybody who makes agricultural drones. Of course, it has to be type certified by a regulator. And then on the usage side, we are giving 100%, 75%, and 50% subsidy depending on whether it is this entity, agriculture institutes, or Krishi Vikas Kendras, or the farmer producer organizations, or a custom hiring center. So there is an incentive scheme for both producing and for buying, but that's an agriculture because that's a social sector. But for construction sector, all of you nice guys sitting in a 5-star hotel, you'll be the last person to be given funds. So that's one question gone. Next is standardization, somebody asked. On 26th of January this year itself, we have come up with a certification scheme. It's a very detailed document created by the industry, of the industry, and for the industry. And some of the culprits who created it are actually sitting at the back. I saw Smith Shah there. Just wave your hand. Yeah. So all industry people, association, and he'll be speaking also in the afternoon, so some of the tech questions can be thrown at him. So the certification scheme is already there. It's in the Gazette of India. And even just like RT-PCR or COVID testing, we have outsourced. We are very good at outsourcing these days. Okay, so there are 3 certification bodies and some 3,000 plus NABL accredited labs. There are 3 private certification bodies, global bodies, Tata Quality, UL, and Bureau Veritas. If you make a drone, you can go to any of these and everything is online. You don't have to come to MOCA or DGCA or any other Sarkari Babu, make me or somebody else feel important. It's a nameless, faceless service. You come straight to the Digital Sky platform. That's a single window, like a passport seva kind of a portal. You put in your details. It's a simple form. Its fees is simple. It's just about, I think, 100 rupees. Okay, and you get a type certificate. And then you can, the type certificate, once you get it, just like an auto vehicle or a car or a scooter model, once your model gets a type certificate, it's a cash generating, it's like a cash printing machine. Using that certificate, you can go on making 100,000 or maybe 10,000 drones and sell it in the market. No permission required. And for each drone that you make, you have to have a unique identification number because it has security and safety implications. So just like your motorcycle or a scooter, here you don't have to go to an RTO. The same Digital Sky platform, there's another form. There are only 5 forms now. You can go there and as a manufacturer, you just put in the details, what is required in the form, and just like your engine and chassis number, we have a flight controller and a ground control station number, etc. You put in those basic numbers and pop, you get a unique identification number, UIN, which is like your vehicle registration number. And once you have it, you can sell that drone. Okay, it's as simple. Now, there's no government involved, no DGC involved, no regulator involved. And for the certification body, as I said, there are 3 private certification bodies. Inshallah, that will go to 4, 5, 6, or even 10. Okay, and just like an RT-PCR test, you go get your test done, and from any of the accredited labs, if you have a COVID negative, come and have a party. Okay, so no need. Earlier, we used to have months and months of this whole certification process going on. It's all ended now. In terms of privacy, again and again, we are asked this question. Privacy is not even covered in the drone rule. So it's actually easy for us because we had some clauses there, but it was cut out by the law ministry when it went for vetting. And what they said was already very detailed privacy laws. If you remember, one of our top badminton players who just won a gold medal, she won some silver medal in some Olympic, and somebody used her photograph and said, okay, you drink my drink or you use my soap or shampoo and you can become a champion like her. And they were taken to court, okay? And their argument was that this is a public photograph. Even a public photograph, may you have privacy rights. So just because PV Sindhu got her photograph clicked on in the newspapers, you can't just use a photograph and say ki you use my cold drink or you use my soap and you'll become very beautiful and a world champion. So privacy laws are very strong in India. You may laugh at it, but they are very strong. So if you go after someone for violation of privacy, there's enough to put that person or that entity into a dock. Okay, so that's why the law ministry cut it out from our rules. They said, in good drafting, you don't repeat a law. If it already exists somewhere, you don't repeat it. Okay, and also the purpose was to keep the drone rules very simple. The drone rules comes under the Aircraft Act 1937. The drone rules 2021, which were released in August, is just an 11-page document. It used to be 40 pages earlier with 25 forms. Okay, I won't get into the history and geography of it because time is already short. So suffice it to say, it took almost 1.5, 2 years of hard work, a lot of churning, a lot of brutal conversations behind closed doors within the government, and then a lot of interaction with the industry, Smith Shah and his team, at Drone Federation, FICCI. So many associations worked with us, and with the industry, we came up with the new ideas, simplification, cutting out old forms. So those 40-page rules were actually brought down to just 11 pages, and 11 pages also very simple English. And within the 11 pages also, the real rules are only 4 or 5 pages. Okay, rest is all definitions and statutory clauses, etc., etc. So it's just 4 or 5 pages. Just type on Google Drone Rules 2021 and you can do it right now on your phones and you'll see it. It's a very nice, simple English. Law Ministry went out of the way. Veena Kothawade is the Joint Secretary there. Really slogged hard to convert legal language into simple English because the diktat from the top leadership, the Prime Minister himself, was that keep it simple. Because the people who are going to use drones are going to be very, very simple people. Okay, youngsters, class 3rd year, 4th year, they'll get together, four friends get together and start a drone company. So keep it very simple. So it's actually very simple, but I leave the judgment to you. Okay, Somebody asked about red and yellow zone. Okay, now a lot of people asked about permissions, this and that, which clearly means that you read a lot of newspapers, but you don't read the rules. So now I'll suggest, don't forget, keep the 30-page Times of India or Hindustan Times and the Delhi Times and all the nice gossip columns at the back aside, and spend some time on those 4 pages of the drone rules. It very simply says that just like a traffic light, there's a red, green, and a yellow light. Similarly, on your airspace map, the India's drone airspace map is freely available on the internet. That again you can Google. If you just type Digital Sky Platform or just write airspace map, it'll take you there. You click on it. You don't need any login ID and password. And I can spend another 2 hours telling you how many brutal conversations we had, okay, with some 46 different agencies to ensure that we can put the red zones. Otherwise, it was when the first time this idea was mooted that for drones, for common people like us, if you want to see my real estate properties coming up here, or this real estate project or whatever, a school or a hospital projects coming here, can I fly a drone? Is it green zone, red zone? They said, how dare you even talk about putting red zones in a public domain? From that conversation 2 years back, we have come to a stage where without any login ID or password or one-time password, you can actually just type on your phones, and I hope some of you are actually checking that out. Just type airspace map. It'll take you there. There are some layers. There's a little layers icon, and you can just keep clicking on it, and whatever you want, international boundary, this, that, red, green, yellow, airport yellow, you'll get it all, okay? And then you'll find, surprise, surprise, green zones were only 5 to 10% of India. Today, they are 90%, and I'll repeat, 90% of India is green. So chances are that if you click, see where you are, of course, this is the reddest of the red zone. You are right next to the Prime Minister's office and President's office, so this, and the Parliament. So this is the reddest of the red zones, but 90% of India is now green, and wherever your new projects are coming up, they will be away, of course, away from the big cities and a little away. Chances are that 90% of those will be green zones. Somebody spoke about red and yellow. Red zones are, of course, the red zones, the no-go zones, just like a red light. And but there also we have a very simplified system. You write to Ministry of Civil Aviation, and then we sort of coordinate with 5 or 6 other agencies. And red zone is basically all the military areas or cantonments or DRDO labs or nuclear facilities, or basically no-go areas, okay, and border areas, etc. But there also, if there's a genuine need, we try and get you a permission within 2 to 3 weeks. Okay, it's that short. Yellow zones are typically around the airport. You have 2 bands. There's a yellow inner and a yellow outer. Yellow inner is from the airport boundary till the 5-kilometer range is a red zone. From 5 to 8 is the yellow inner, and 8 to 12 is the yellow outer. Now let me surprise you by saying that so beyond 12 kilometers from the airport boundary, it's all green zone. Okay, this boundary of 12 kilometers used to be 45 kilometers, which means 40-kilometer radius means 45 here, 45 there, 90 kilometers diameter, literally the whole city, and plus some 2-3 small towns and some maybe 100 villages are gone in that yellow zone. So with a lot of that debate over the last 2 years, that 45 kilometers now brought down to as close as just 12 kilometers from the boundary. Okay, and within 12 and 8 also is called yellow outer, and there also up to 200 feet we are declared a green zone. So up to 200 feet, right up to 8 kilometers from the airport, okay, what was 45 is now brought down to just about 8 kilometers. It's all there on the airspace map. You don't need any gyan from me. Just go explore, have fun, and you'll be surprised to see your house, your mother's house, or your uncle's house actually in a green zone, okay, and you can actually fly there. Green zone means up to 400 feet, and in the yellow outer, up to 200 feet is being opened up. Somebody asked about way of life. It's already a way of life. Now it's up to us to just go out and explore. It's just another toy, just like we had internet 40, 50 years back and mobile phones just about 20 years back. This is the new latest toy which combines mobile phone plus this, plus camera, plus flying. It's basically a camera that flies. It's like a grab or a limbs and eyes and ears that can fly. It's a robot which flies. Who doesn't want this? Even a phone will become a drone phone or drone or drophone or whatever, drobile or mobile or whatever new names, fancy names will come up. All you'll do is you just switch on, click a button or give a voice signal, 4 arms will come up, a small propellers will come out. Your drone will fly, and you can just say hello, and everybody look at there and just smile, and you click photographs, and automatically zzz, it'll come back and stop at your desk. So all that is anyway being designed. It will happen. Somebody asked about small and medium enterprises, drone support for usage, no usage. We are giving money on the PLI scheme, and this also happened within weeks. The cabinet decided normally PLI scheme, a production-linked incentive scheme. We're giving 120 crores over 3 years to the drone manufacturers based on certain eligibility criteria. And Why 120 crores might sound very small, but 120 crores is double, 200% of the entire manufacturing base of India. It is a very small, tiny base. So that's why these numbers don't count much. But when you said 120 crores, the base production base was only 60 crores. And the government is giving 200% of that as a cash back to the industry to promote more and more local manufacturing. In February this year, we also came up with the import ban. The DGFT has banned all imports. Okay, so all our nice neighbors up north, friendly neighbors, their drones were almost all over the place. It's all going to be stopped now. Okay, then there was another question on e-commerce by drones. E-commerce, of course, there's a lot of experiments already happening. What we do is most of these transporters buy drones. We encourage them to first work with the military because military, so it's a win-win because military anyway needs the forward post to be supplied with food and kerosene and fuel and batteries or whatever, or even ammunition. Okay. Or even medicines at times. And the other method is because those are not motorable roads, so it takes maybe 3 hours to 3 days sometimes. The 18th century method, you put it on a mule and a whole caravan of mules will be going up there carrying those supplies to our brave soldiers up there in that cold weather or a hot desert. So now with drones, you can do in 30 minutes what takes you maybe 3-4 hours, 6 hours, or maybe even 2 days. Okay, so first we try with the military and then we bring it back closer and closer to the city. And inside the city, this whole thing about pizzas, of course, that's not even a focus area of the government because that will happen anyway on its own. Our focus is to use drones more for the remote areas, border areas, disadvantaged communities, for agriculture, which is a mainstay of bulk of our population is in agriculture. We need to move them away from the old 18th century method of spraying by hand. That broadcast method is not good. It also takes away land because you have to keep a little walking path to do the spraying, and it's very unscientific. Okay, with a drone, you can do very, very accurate spray at the right rate, at whatever flow rate you may decide based on the crop, at what height, what level of atomization, what speed. Okay, and you can also make it automated so that the farmer doesn't need to move it. He just sits under a tree and has a good time. And this drone just goes, it's already pre-programmed. The technician will just come and put the GPS coordinates of the farm, and it just goes in a zigzag pattern. That pattern also is controlled by the technician, and you can do a spray. So I don't want to waste too much time on that. So agriculture, disaster relief, all these floods which you see in Assam, a lot of work being done by drones for survey, real-time situational awareness for the control center, where the disaster control team is sitting, and then also taking food and medicines, because you can do pinpoint delivery of food and medicines to someone sitting on top of a roof, maybe 20 people on a roof, and there's water all around. So the earlier method of helicopters or plane throwing them, that's again a very old method, because it can burst, it can fall, it can go into the water, and a lot of food is wasted and may not even reach the person. So with drones, you're actually doing pinpointed in your hand kind of a delivery. Approval, somebody asked, approvals, I've already told you, you actually don't need an approval. The beauty of approvals is you don't need an approval to fly a drone. All you have to do is to, again, as I'm saying for the 4th time, I'm repeating, sorry for the repetition, just go to the internet, go to the airspace map, and if you're in a green zone, no permission required. It's a little difficult to believe because earlier there were some 16 or 17 approvals required. It's all gone. Surprise, surprise. Congratulations. It's gone as of 25th of August last year. Okay, so if you're in a green zone, fly. If you're in a yellow zone, you have to obviously notify the air traffic controller, because yellow means it's close to the flight path of the aircraft, and it's very risky. Even a small bird, you would have heard, bird hit. You know, the cockpit crashes, because a 2-kilo bird hitting a plane which is moving at some 200, 300, or 400 kilometers an hour, you can imagine what an impact it has. So naturally, a big drone can cause more damage. Okay, so around the airport, there are lots of genuine uses which happen, and we coordinate with the air traffic controller, and they actually tell you when to fly, where to fly, and what areas to avoid. So approvals are very simple, and red zone, of course, is the biggest, because the red zone means it's a no-go area, military area, whatever, but there also we'll help you. Somebody asked me, I'll just stop at the last question about heavy load taxis. So there are experiments happening on 50 kilo, 100 kilo payloads, even 300 kilos, and there's a Swiss company which is coming to meet us on Monday. There's some Americans coming, there's some Brazilians coming next week. So there's a lot of work happening on heavy capacity drones. Even the Prime Minister keeps talking about, even from the fishermen areas, he gets, I don't know which of you supply those ideas. Sometimes those ideas make us also fall off our chairs. Yeah. So he once said, why don't we even get fresh fish from the fishermen folk when they come in with the harvest, okay, for the catch, and then take them to the processing center, because a lot of wastage happens from the hill areas in a truck, in a carton. Those apples and pomegranates or whatever, soft fruits or bananas, they get damaged. 20, 30, even 40% is the post-harvest damage. Similarly, in fish, you get, because it's a highly perishable commodity, so if it takes a long time in a truck and a carton to reach the export centers or the processing centers or to the local markets, he's saying, why don't we have heavy capacity drones which can take it from the fisherman's area right to the processing center, and then take it to the next level where these big ships or trawlers don't even need to come to the shore. They stay there, do their job, and from the trawler to the coast and trawler to the processing center, you should have these heavy capacity drones. So a lot of work is happening. It's just that because these are heavy drones which fly, and you're seeing battery fires even on electric vehicles, so one has to be very, very careful. So I'll just stop by first congratulating Construction World again for this great event. And I mean, God knows, it's been happening for so many years. I remember participating first as a backbencher, then maybe a speaker in the last session, and then today I'm guest of honor. So it just shows that someone up there is watching. Even untalented people like me can move up in life. So there's a lot of hope for all of you. Construction industry anyway is very critical. I don't even need to say what a pillar of a pillar of our economy it is. It's some 30, 40, God knows how many industries feed off construction. So please keep building and keep building India. I mean, if the GDP has to go up, the more you grow, the more the GDP grows. Keep up the good work. Drones is anyway going to be part of every project planning. Before you even decide on out of 7 sites, which is the site you're going to build on, okay, from that point right up to after the building and handover and the occupants have moved in, and for surveillance and for safety or even firefighting, God forbid if there is a requirement, all kinds of work from before till the end of the construction cycle, you need a drones and beyond that. Thank you so much. All the best. Have a great day. Jai Hind.
Thank you very much indeed, sir, for that informative and interactive session we had from you. And ladies and gentlemen, the government plans to a GI-based enterprise resource planning system with 200 plus layers for evidence-based decision-making, use of satellite imagery for monitoring, and has a focus on digitization, ensuring timely clearance and flagging potential issues and project monitoring. To highlight on the government plans for adopting modern technology, we would like to invite Mr. Sudhendu J. Sinha, Advisor Technology, Niti Aayog. Mr. Sinha has experience of over 29 years in operations, infrastructure planning, coordination and management of field and policy making levels in Indian Railways with considerable success and appreciation. His performance has been recognized and awarded twice at the national level and thrice at the Ministry of Railways level. He also served as Dean of the Indian Railway Institute of Transport Management, Lucknow, and General Manager, Web Applications at the Center for Railway Information Systems, CRIS. And ladies and gentlemen, I have the proud privilege in inviting Mr. Sudhendu J. Sinha, Advisor Technology Niti Aayog, for the keynote address. Please put your hands together to welcome.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. At the onset, let me congratulate the organizers, because it's a fabulous thing. For the second time, I was told that it is being organized. And I was also told that almost every month, these organizers, they keep on organizing on such, I would call it, very, very advanced themes. So this is something that we should take, all of us should take pride of. So yes, you see a different India the way it was so well explained by the initial speaker. That things are changing in a big way. They should. When the Prime Minister says that you have got 25 years only in hand, by that it is meant that it is like, the PL in the college days, preparatory leave. So exam is right there. You have to prepare for those 1 month or 1.5 months that is given. You have to put the best so that at the end you turn out to be the best. So precisely that is what the idea is. That in this time, what is so nicely called as Amrit Kal, everybody has to kind of synergize together so that we are able to create an India which is the best in the world. where the cities are the most livable, where mobility is the best, infrastructure is world class. In each and every sphere it is. It has got to be the best. And the most positive aspect is that this is what the world is also gradually understanding, that yes, the country is leading forward in that direction. The problem with us is that we always need a validation, a ratification from others that we are doing well. So until that is there, that confidence doesn't come in. But let me tell you that this is internationally so well accepted that we are doing fabulous, we are doing awesome. You heard Mr. Dubey talking on drones. Drones are really something that is a technology leapfrog. Now, initial speaker so nicely said that one of the bane in our entire infrastructure has been the time and cost overruns. So, if an infrastructure project, and the national flagship infrastructure project I am mentioning, if it is conceived at an amount of, say, 27,000 crore rupees, and that amount spills to 1,31,000 crore rupees, this is something that cannot be acceptable, you see. And as I said, this is what I'm mentioning about DFCC. And I can keep on giving an example of so many of them. He mentioned that almost 600 plus such projects are there which are languishing. And there is a system in government, this is the system at the highest level, where the Prime Minister monitors the most flagship infrastructure projects, the best impact that they have. That is monitored on a monthly basis in a system called Pragati scheme. So in Pragati meetings, he selects infrastructure, his people select infrastructure on their own, that which particular infrastructure is going to be monitored, and then questions are asked that why it is failing. You know, I have been a party to majority of such meetings, and I could see that even when an infrastructure is failing behind, it was very difficult to point out that who is responsible for it. So it was like passing the parcels. You say it was because of him, he says because of him. And finally, you know, there have been certain occasions where they turned out to the Prime Minister and said that this is because the courts are there. So finally, it comes to him only. So that was how it was going on. So finally, it was decided, he decided, that we have to kind of completely plug this thing. This cannot go on forever. And that is how this concept of, I was told, that Gati Shakti came in. So Gati Shakti is going to be a game changer in the entire project administration. It's one of the best things that I would say that can happen to the country. So if I were to give example, it's slow. The way Aadhaar, when it was initiated, people thought that is like one other identity card. They didn't know that what Aadhaar is going to, what role it is going to play. That time they could not think of. Same is the case with Gati Shakti. Gati Shakti is going to completely, it is going to be kind of revolutionizing. It is going to be a major maverick breakthrough in the entire project administration. The problem is that it is barely 1 year old. So last Independence Day, Prime Minister announced Gati Shakti, and then the team started working, the logistic department, we at Niti Aayog, all of us, different ministries, all of us started thinking that how it is to be taken forward. So precisely, let me tell you that if I were to decode this Gati Shakti, it's a very easy thing, but of course, if you do not go on the original literature, then you'll find it to be very difficult to understand, because then hearsay will rather keep you confused. And it is a fact today, so everybody says ki in every foreword, in every writing, somebody will say ki, please insert Gati Shakti also. As if without Gati Shakti, it is not complete. So Gati Shakti, if were to understand with, say, 2-3 very, very fundamental questions, I would say that the principal aim of Gati Shakti, the grand design of Gati Shakti is the same. It is to raise the productivity, and it is to kind of bring about economic development and growth. And then how it is to be done? Second question. So it is to be done through creating world-class logistic infrastructure, and of course, world-class infrastructure, modern infrastructure, and of course, logistic synergy. And then there are 7 specific areas, what they call 7 engines. There are 6 pillars. So they are the terms, but all of them are practically enablers to take this thing forward. To make it a little simpler, at the end point, you would see that you would be able to design, conceive of a project, run it on the framework of Gati Shakti. I mean, you can create the DPR, you can do the financial allocations, you can monitor it, you can do the project implementation, and like in the entire life cycle of the project from end to end, from design and conceptualization to monitoring and evaluation, everything can be taken on Gati Shakti. But yes, as of now, this is not so, because that takes a lot of maturity to achieve that stage. As of now, we have identified specific high-impact projects, and they are being monitored, their progress is being monitored through Gati Shakti. So, to make it again a little more simpler, suppose if I were to lay down a new road, say new highway from here to that place, I must have 100% visibility that what all alternate infrastructure would be there from this point to that point. How many civil aviation ports, how many, if shipping is there, shipping, how many logistic warehouses, what other road infrastructure is there, what railway line is there. So each and everything about logistic availability, that should be there. So that the first question comes whether this is required or this is not required. Once that is frozen, that it is required, then you go in for what is the alignment that you have decided, whether that is a correct alignment or that is a wrong alignment. So it can give you a precision to an extent that you can identify that how many trees are even to be felled, what specific, how many water bodies are to be negotiated. So then you can keep on changing that alignment, of course, in consultation with the state government and others, so that all those issues are taken care of. So this is what the grand aim of, the grand design of Gati Shakti is. And as I explained, that at the end of the day, it aims to bring about a lot of discipline in our project administration, lot of synergy. It has to be a whole of a government approach. As of now, what happens is that if a railway station is being new railway station is being constructed, it is a railways project. So it is a roadways, it is MOTS project. It has to be whole of government approach. That is why, to bring about that holistic kind of approach to it, this Gati Shakti has been framed. Gati Shakti is going to be a big enabler, as I told you, in the entire project administration. And yes, in all other areas, in all other infrastructure areas, whether it is roads, railways, civil aviation, you name it, the way we are doing, the way country is doing, that is something fabulous. And all of you can take pride in it because you have got a big role to play. You know, the most significant aspect is that I always identify, are the 4 of them, that we are expanding in, say, last in a decade or so, we have expanded in a big way. So expansion has been really phenomenal. And this expansion has not been only in those areas where the infrastructure was already existing. So this expansion has taken to areas which have been perpetually infrastructurally deficit areas. So Northeast, for example, the coastal areas, the Himalayan arc, the island territories, so these have been infrastructurally deficit. Infrastructure has gone there. So that has brought about a lot of unity within the country also. And that the third thing is that this infrastructure, you can take it for the specific construction industry also. This has to be qualitatively the world's best. That is why the concepts such as resilience, concepts of green infrastructure, so these things are being now embedded into the infrastructure concept. And at the end of the day, what happens is that it is meant for the user. So user must be empowered. So it is an empowering infrastructure. So basically, it is expansion, it is excellence, it is equity, and of course, it is an empowered infrastructure. That is what country is going ahead with. And let me tell you that your specific, this particular sector of construction, that is again doing something that the whole country takes pride of. Today, the kind of buildings that are coming up, that is really fabulous, you see. So, a lot of congratulations to each one of you, those of you who are involved into this trade, to the organizers for bringing that such a wonderful topic, and of course, I explained to you about Gati Shakti. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Sinha. That was indeed very insightful. And we as an industry are ready for this revolution and disruption. And to highlight on adaptation of technology intervention, may I now invite Mr. Kasturi Srinivas, Regional Director, Mobility, Bentley Systems. Mr. Srinivas has over 20 years of varied experience in software sales, production and managing delivery of software solutions for road, rail and water infrastructure, design and operation and maintenance. He has led teams in conceptualizing, designing, implementing and supporting various systems from sales to commissioning of the systems, to various capacities in sales, technical sales, development, professional services, project management, and building great teams. He is currently leading the industry business development for road and rail market in India. So ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome Mr. Kasturi Srinivas.
It's really good to be back in such a large event like this, and instead of doing a virtual one. And thank you for actually coming over here. So, as we just heard from the speakers, our country is experiencing a lot of infrastructure boom, and that's really unprecedented. And through a national infrastructure pipeline, or being additionally funded projects through the state governments. And we hear a lot about Gati Shakti program, and it's being used for employing modern technology and latest IT tools for coordinated planning of infrastructure. So I'm here to share with you the role of digital twin technologies are playing worldwide and today, and perhaps how digital twins can augment the Gati Shakti platform for the decision-making process at the micro level, or I would say a project level. So a little bit about Bentley, who we are, and then to set the contextualize it, I'll probably talk about National Digital Twin Program of the UK, and then perhaps contextualize it from the point of view of Gati Shakti program, and talk about digital twins for infrastructure, and then mention about few examples. So here we are, we're a $1 billion company, recently listed on NASDAQ. Spending a lot of time and efforts in building on software, improving software, and writing new ones as well. And then pretty old in India. We've been here since 2002, almost 700 plus colleagues, and a lot of team focusing on the development of technologies and sales and marketing and support. That's where basically we operate about 5 offices in India, and we're there since 2002. So as a company, we provide innovative software to advance world infrastructure, sustaining both global economy and environment. Our industry-leading solutions are used by professionals, organizations of every size for design, construction, and operations of road, bridges, rail, transit, water, and wastewater, public works, utilities, buildings, and campuses. Really a long list. And that's where basically we operate in the complete life cycle of the solutions, especially for the life cycle of infrastructure projects. Just to set the little bit more context, I think every 20 years there's a disruption, keeps coming in our way, especially in the project delivery technologies. We are at the beginning of another revolution called digital twins. Of course, we began in the 80s and 90s. We talked about CAD era, where we were just mimicking the drawing productions and things like that, last 20 years, there's been a lot of focus on moving away from drawings to the models and things like that, and which we call the building information modeling process or technology, I would say that. I think we believe that this, for next 20 years, digital twins are going to be a major disruption for the infrastructure industry. Of course, this is nothing much new if we talk about process industry or aircraft industry and things like that. But again, I think it's going to bring a lot of changes in the delivery of infrastructure, especially for the life cycle. It's basically, as a definition, it's basically a virtual representation of a real-world asset or a workflow. It's basically a digital version of reality that is continuously being updated. Now, as a part of the evolution, obviously we no longer be constrained by limits of decades-old CAD technologies. Instead, digital twin will utilize multi-dimensional database containers that work with any 2D, 3D, 4D, or 5D, or 6D, or 7D for that matter, and allows free flow of information to all stakeholders in the project delivery process. Now, I would like to talk a little bit briefly about UK's National Digital Twin Program. Basically, this program came from recommendations from the National Infrastructure Commission report on the data for public good. It reported on the benefits of sharing data, and it set the vision for a national digital twin as an ecosystem of connected digital twins across infrastructure and built environment. The National Digital Twin Program is led by what they call a Center for Digital Britain. Is a center for which is basically a partnership between academia and the industry and the government. And essentially, they've been tasked to create to define a information management framework for the digital twins, basically. This was done around 2018 or late part of 2018. That's what came up. I think as a part of this exercise, they came up with an excellent principles to define the information management framework. I think they call this the Gemini principles. And it's basically a standard set of values for sharing information built on core themes of the purpose and trust and functions. And it kind of elaborates a little bit more into details. What is the real purpose of the information? Who creates it? Security aspects, the openness. Some of those things basically have been very nicely articulated so that what are the digital twin being developed as a use case should have the information available following this particular principle so that information can be exchanged amongst the digital twins and other users so that information can be shared easily, efficiently, effectively for delivery of the projects. Again, taking the inspiration from the Gemini principles, we as a technology company, we are actually built an open source based digital twin platform where everything is available as a common set of source codes and data types that can be defined with open source tools that are built on an open standards, basically. In fact, we have publications available on the on our site and as well as the other places. So basically, what we're trying to do is that we know infrastructure is a very complex subject in the sense that there are various design, planning, construction, and then life cycle. Obviously, we believe that Bentley cannot solve every problem on earth, right? We want people to build solutions on this platform so that the information is actually easily exchangeable, and then obviously the coordination and better delivery actually happens. Again, what you're seeing on the screen primarily as I briefly described as a platform on the left-hand side. We talk about a project delivery phase, and then on the right-hand side, I would probably call it an operations and maintenance side of it. So when it comes to the project delivery phase, for example, we're talking about delivering a metro project, for example, or for example, road project. I'll probably pick up the metro example. Obviously, you have many disciplines of engineering. They also need to sit together and collaborate, and they may end up using different sets of design and solutions. I think What is actually really required is that obviously when you're somebody is designing a say viaduct, somebody is designing a station, contractor is different. How do they basically need to coordinate and collaborate together? Obviously, we defined a platform which is kind of open. It is platform agnostic, so that it'll keep track of what changes were made, when was the change made, where, who made those changes, and then keep it available as a platform for people to do a very quick design review, very quick validation, clash detection, all sorts of things basically. Since it's going to be, it's actually an open platform, obviously you're basically converted all the data into a very structured way so that it can be exposed to things like and develop Unreal applications and 3D modeling. It can be a web application, things like that. So of course, this is something which I mentioned about project delivery as a platform phase. Again, when it goes into O&M phase, you have many such information coming from the things like an IoT devices. You keep surveying in terms of, maybe you get a fresh LiDAR data or a drone-based information or 3D model and things like that. Obviously, you need to have the ability to federate all the information so that you actually maintain the system well. So to do that, what we did was that basically we defined as a framework. We actually have we manage the platform, cloud platform. We also provide a standard workflows which can be basically utilized. And then obviously we also manage the federation, alignment, all the information, because these are very important things. For example, you need to get information from various systems in place. They should be properly aligned geographically, sit in one place, and then coordination basically happens. Then on top of that, you have an application layer which is built by Bentley or built by other basically vendors. Basically, this is the kind of framework we kind of came up with. I know I'm rushing through things because paucity of time, but again, we're available for a discussion a little bit more in detail if you want to know more about it. So again, if I can expand this further, when we talk about digital infrastructure, it's not going to be definitely easier. Many information is available, whether that is a satellite imagery, aircraft, drones, vehicle-mounted scanners, cell phones for the matter, handheld scanners. All this information needs to be federated, combined together, and then obviously, residing in one particular geographical location so that you're able to use this information. Which means that if you can imagine, typically in a CAD world, you have many layers of information. For the digital twin, these individual information, like for example, a GIS data could be a reality model, a terrain model, a 2D drawing, or a 4D model, and an IoT information coming from a device. All this asset information, performance information coming from any other information, all becomes a layers of information for us as the part of a digital twin, basically. Okay, having said this, what's most important is to how is actually transitioning as a historical data, and then give the trend analytics, and also how it's going to predict the future performance is something which is definitely needed. That is something which with this particular platform is actually able to provide you with that. Now, again, where it's being used, how it's being used, obviously, as I mentioned, virtual collaboration, virtual planning, virtual inspections, basically, especially in the O&M phase, inspection becomes an extremely important aspect to it. Again, just to summarize, it's basically an open platform. Anybody can start using it, put their own solutions and things like that. And standard APIs are available for people to build their own applications on top of that. And standard workflows and APIs are also made available. I'll quickly go through some of the examples. I know I talk about one airport example, and I've got one rail example. I'll quickly explain you what it is, basically through via videos. And this one particular example is basically a rail example. I'll want you to listen to this program, video.
And tested it out in applications like virtual planning, including the ability to work in 3D for trackside planning, measuring clearances, defining work areas and so on. In addition to that virtual planning, we looked at asset strategy, being able to bring in condition data, display that thematically on different places in the network and drill down to the existing data source behind the scenes. We could also apply the same concept to point assets such as point machines and their access data from a predictive condition model to see the proposed degradation of the equipment over time. We also like to link to existing line of business applications, so displaying asset condition data and then drilling down to things like Power BI. Moving on to asset planning, we can leverage a lot of different data types, including LiDAR across different sections of the network. Drilling down to make this LiDAR more discoverable and more accessible is an important part of giving digital context to the decision making that needs to be made. We can even display the location, front of train imagery, find the image that's closest to the track where you want to work, navigate along the track to get just the right point of view, and then take a look at the piece of equipment you might want to be working on. This can include collaborating with others by creating annotations to indicate the type of work that you're going to do, using the annotation tools for planning in a collaborative way in a 3D context. We're also able to work either in panorama mode or in point cloud mode, depending on the data that's available. Position management and understanding work in a position is vital, so we can visually display position locations as well as the assets and notifications that are active within the position that we're working on. As we plan our work inside that area with an emphasis on safety, we can plan where we're going to work and annotate for the benefit of others the work area that might be available and control that visibility in a multi-user environment. There are other types of data that are valuable for planning here as well. Of course, GIS data lets us know locations along the track, as well as where the nearest access gates might be, for example, for planning access to the site, and even the location of underground services like cabling and so on can all be other layers of data within our digital twin. And if the maintenance work is on a facility, then we can bring in BIM or engineering models and not only see those models of the buildings to be worked on, but also bring along with them the properties of engineering properties and drawing management properties that might go with them. Looking to the future, we can expect more types of data to come from satellite, aerial, drone, front of train and handheld devices, even mobile phones. And specialty devices are appearing that can move around the network and move off the track as required to get out of the way of passing trains. We're applying artificial intelligence and machine learning both to identify objects in these data as well as to identify defects across the network. And we can expect to see devices like Microsoft HoloLens being used for that immersive inspection experience to better understand the state of the network. We're now ready to move from concept to initial production. Exciting times ahead. Thank you. Added in drone data that have been reconstructed in 3D from drone photography and tested it out.
So this is a little bit about I would say rail example. I'll quickly show you the airport example.
It's a gateway to historical and real-time data from multiple sources relating to our physical assets, enabling our people to make informed decisions, facilitate predictive outcomes, improve operational and asset efficiency, mitigate risk and underpin safety. The landing page enables a diverse range of users to navigate their way around the airport, finding information specific to their department and role, whether that information be within buildings, terminals, across the airport precinct, or details on projects and developments. The Check My Development site is to aid in the transparency of projects and future developments across the entire airport precinct. Project managers have the ability to overlay flood studies, environmentally significant areas, and heritage sites that may impact their development. Operational information, such as the airspace obstacle limitation surface, the OLS, and noise contours, can also be turned on. The location of the in-ground services network is essential. The ability to turn on or off individual services creates an overall picture of the impact a development or project will have on the existing infrastructure, essentially creating a dial before you dig scenario. Historical images can also be displayed using the digital twin.
So this is actually a system which is already in production. We built it for Sydney Airport. I can give you more details on this, maybe I'll skip this. We've got examples from buildings as well, where they're able to manage the occupancy, energy consumption as a digital twin platform. There's one last thing I would like to mention this about. There's actually a project in India which is actually a work in progress. What you're actually seeing is basically a integration of multiple data sets, 3D models, especially combined together, it being extended to then O&M as a platform. It's basically coming up here. Okay, just gives you an idea about what this is all about. I think this is my information, and thank you so much for your time. Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed, sir, for that wonderful presentation. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I would request Mr. Padode to kindly do the honors of presenting a token of gratitude and appreciation to all our eminent dignitaries present on the dais for the inaugural session. We present to Mr. Ambar Dubey, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Civil Aviation, Government of India. Thank you very much indeed, sir, for sparing your valuable time and being here with us today. We present to Mr. Sudhendu J. Sinha, Advisor Technology, Niti Aayog. Thank you, sir, for being here with us. And to Mr. Kasturi Srinivas. Thank you once again, sir, for that presentation. Thank you, Mr. Padode, for doing the honors. And can we have a group photograph of this eminent panel? And ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together to thank all our eminent dignitaries for being here with us today, for sparing their valuable time. Thank you once again.